So welcome to everybody who is watching this interview. Today we are here with Roman Skafov. How do you say? Skafov.
Almost. Strakhov.
Strakhov.
Yeah, good try.
Roman is Russian and he is the record man in the 5x5 blind, and also he is an expert in the big blinds, right?
Yes, kind of.
So Roman, welcome to this interview. And the first question is very simple. How and when did you start with the cubing?
Well, it was summer 2011, I believe. Well, I always had a strong passion for puzzles and math problems, but when I saw the Rubik's Cube in the store, it caught my attention, and I thought, well, I can easily solve it. And then I, bought the cube and bring it home, and it was a surprise to me that I couldn't even begin to solve it, and I was really frustrated by that fact. And finally, I found a tutorial on the internet, and so I solved it in about 15 minutes by following the tutorial. So yeah, after that, I just discovered the Russian speedcubing community for myself, and also I discovered that there are actually competitions held where people solve Rubik's Cube.
And why did you decide to practice blind?
Well, after I discovered competitions, I noticed that some people, prefer the Rubik's Cube can be solved blindfolded. And in 2011, when I first saw it, Willy Seppanen held the world record for the 5 blinds. I saw that man doing it. It was just, how did he do it? Just blowed my mind. That was my idol, and I decided to try the BLD, which stands for blindfolded solving, and fortunately, there was a tutorial in this community, Russian speedcubing community group. Well, I was only a newbie in speedcubing, so I had to even learn, T permutation or other algorithms. Eventually, I solved and continued practicing, and after that, in a half of a year from that moment, Oleg Gritsenko recorded his tutorial for Big Blind, and I eventually, in the beginning of 2012, solved 4 blind and then 5 and so on.
Good. And where do you find the motivation and the effort for to do all the big blind? For example, you have a 10 by 10 by 10 blind in your YouTube channel, and you say in the comment that the mistake was in the execution, not in the memorization. So how you do that?
Well, about the mistake, on the 10 by 10, the cube is pretty big, so it's very hard to find letters while blindfolded. And about the motivation, when I started doing big blinds and stuff, I was living in Siberia, which is the geographical center of the Russian, and I hadn't a possibility to compete because there was no competitions in there. The closest place to me with the competitions was Moscow, which is far away, and so I haven't the possibility to compete, but I wanted some accomplishments. So I found a way to do it by solving the unofficial events and practicing in it. And well, I solved the 7 blind and 6 blind, and then eventually I got the WRs, which stands for unofficial world records in those events, with the big support of the speedcubing community of the world, basically on forums, speedsolving.com. Thank you guys.
Talking about your YouTube channel, I also saw that you have done 2 until 7, I think, blindfold relay, no? It was difficult because I think that it could be very difficult because there is a lot of kind of cues, and you can shuffle, you can mix the pieces in your mind.
Well, it's difficult in terms of the amount of information that I need to memorize, because the 2-7 relay is it's actually harder to memorize than the 10 blind. There are more pieces in general, but in terms of solving, this is not harder than, at least for me, this is not harder than multi-blind, because execution methods and memo methods for all cubes from 2x2 to 7x7 are exactly the same. So I just consistently solved one cube after another, and this is not difficult.
Good. What's the method that you use to memorize and to execute the cubes?
For memorization, there are two basic methods which memory athletes use. So two methods are loci or location, methods of location, and stories method. So you can find tutorials on the internet on how to memorize lists. If you Google for how to memorize lists, there will be two methods. But basically I use the combination kind of two methods, mostly stories. And to give you a good example, well, I have to think of the example in English. Let's say I have to memorize letters DG, which can stand for dog. So I imagine myself a dog, and then letters CH will be chair, for example. So I memorize the dog biting a chair or something, creating this crazy association which will be in my mind for a long time because it's something unusual that I have to imagine. And then, for example, letters BT, which can stay for bottle. I imagine myself, well, dog, chair, and then a bottle on top of a chair. So I create those kind of stories where objects linked with each other. And then for each object, when I execute cubes, I execute the specific algorithm.
Good. And where is the human limit in the big blinds? What do you think about it?
I'm sorry. The limit of big blinds in terms of time.
Yeah. In term about the big queues.
Well, 10 by 10 blind was already very hard to solve because of the fine layers. I don't know any human in the world who had a target of solving at least 9 blind. Well, actually 9 blind was, two Russians besides me tried to solve 9 by 9 blindfolded, which was Allegri-Tenko and Lydia, the UWR holder for the Mega Mutants blind. But 10 by 10 blindfolded, I think people would never have the motivation to solve it. I just probably I will make a few more attempts on 10 blinds in the future.
Okay, so and now you imagine that here is the time for the memorization, and here is the time for the execution. What do you think that is the easier one to improve quickly, faster? The memorization of the execution?
This depends of the method that you use for memo and for execution. If you are just starting to learn blinds, those two things are approximately equal in terms of improving. But for the world class, I see there is a limit for the execution, and actually my WR attempt was very fast when executed. So 2 minutes 40 seconds execution about 240 execution was pretty fast. And as for the memorization, I see no limits for improving because I see what some top memory athletes do. The thing's just crazy, To give you an example, the unofficial world record for memorizing 100 digits is 23 seconds, I believe, and 100 digits is approximately the same amount of information as 4x4 cube, which can be memorized in minimum, 40 seconds. So there is a lot of room for improvements in memorization.
And what is the most difficult category, the big blinds or the 3x3 multi-blind?
Oh, definitely big blind, because for the multi-blind you just memorize one cube after another. Well, the memorization process is the same as just a single blind, but for the big blinds you have to track pieces while memorize them, center pieces. Especially for 8x8 and bigger cubes, you have to memorize so-called obliqueways. This is the type of center pieces, which are, without a practice, very hard to track. And so, especially execution, when you have to find proper layers, or just keep in mind that you have to, rotate the layer that you have to rotate versus the multi-blind when you execute. just the same way as you execute the regular 3 blinds.
Have you tried to do multi-blind in big cubes?
Well, yeah, I have done the attempt of 3 cubes of 5 blinds. Well, yeah. What else? Well, the relay of 2 to 7 blinds, and there was kind of multi-blind big cubes, but in general, nothing else.
Good. For all the person who is watching the video, I'm going to left in the information of the video your YouTube channel for if they want to watch all your videos. And when you have the DNF in the 10 by 10 by 10 blind, we can say that you lost time because was a DNF. So how many hours or how many days have you lost in your life?
Well, I can't say that I just lost it forever because it was good practice, but if you say that I lose the time, I know that I had about 29 BLD attempts, and so 19 was DNF, and considering the fact that each of them was about 2.5 hours long, that was about 48 hours, so 2 days straight without
2 days.
even sleeping. Yes, 49 blinds only.
And 2 days in your 2 days in your life is good. It's not too much.
Yeah. So, but if you do it every day, it's kind of painful to have DNF every day, spending 2 hours a day, 2.5 hours.
But to be the person who has the record in the world, you need to have a lot of DNF to improve, no?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I want to say that being the best in the big blinds doesn't require the same amount of practicing as being the best in, let's say, 3x3 cube two-handed, the main event, because the kind of competency, or how do I say this? Well, the people who compete in this event is significantly less than the regular events. So you have to just improve to be faster than those people who compete in this event.
Yeah. So, Roman, do you want to say something to the Spanish cuber who is watching this video?
Yeah, good luck, guys, with your accomplishments. I want to say that only do cubing and other things if it's enjoyable for you, if it's fun for you. But also don't be lazy to learn new things. And blindfolded cubing is a very interesting thing, so you should have to try it.
Yeah, the last interview was to the second in the world in 3x3 blind, and he said that it's very important to practice the blind because Friedrich is almost mechanical. You always do the same, but in the blind you practice on your mind and all these things.
Well, what I can say from my perspective is, eventually, if you are perfect at 2x3 blinds, then at first it's practicing. As long as Friedrich, when you just learning things and you just considering algorithms to use, it always is a exercise for your brain. But when you became perfect, kind of pure in Friedrich, you do it automatically. And kind of same can be said about the 3 blind or big blinds. When you learn how to do it, it seems really hard, and it really improves your memory or concentration. But as long as you achieve the world-class level, it becomes automatically.
So, Roman, the interview has finished. Thank you very much for to give me a little of your time.
Thank you.
And see you in another video.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.